morning. Today I want to talk to you about experiencing trauma and how interesting it is that if you are not there, you don't experience it, doesn't affect you the same way as it affects others. And here's my example: is when my son Tim was about 2 years old. I was pregnant with Danny, and so I was supposed to stay home and stay laying down. And so some friends got Tim and took him to their house, and then they were playing hide and seek with him. So he would just run down the hall. He'd come out and say, boo, and then he'd run down the hall, and then they'd chase him. And they'd go look for him. So then one time he didn't come back. He didn't come back out. So they started looking for him, and the sliding door in their bedroom was open, and they noticed. And then the back gate was open. So he went out of the house and out the gate and down the alley. Well, they didn't know where he was, and they're looking all over the place and getting all frantic and panic out. And then when my husband landed from flying, they said, you need to get over to Major Williamson's house because you need to get over there pretty quick. So he gets over there, and they had called the police and the fire. So there were fire trucks and everybody, and they were going around and knocking on everybody's door, especially doors that had pools, seeing if they'd seen this little 2-year-old just, anywhere. It was there. They looked and looked and looked. And so I'm home watching TV, not knowing that anything's going on, and my husband's going through this trauma. And so they kept looking and looking, and they were just about ready to put it on TV saying a missing child, if anybody saw him. And so he was going to come home and tell me so that I wouldn't be sitting there watching TV and see it on there. But he checked one more time, this one little field, and then he sees Tim coming walking down, just crying. He got up, he had mud all over him. We think he just laid down and took a nap or something, but he got up and he came running, and then Ed goes running over there, just like in the movie, you go running and grab the kid, and it's just like lots of emotion. So when they got home, I said, "Hey Tim, were you good today?" And he said, "Yes." So then my husband told me the story about how traumatic that was and how they finally found him, and he was so worried during it. Well, it didn't affect me at all because I wasn't in that experience of the trauma with them. So it affected him, but it didn't get me. That when I'm thinking that maybe my son was kidnapped or something, or going to be lost forever. So it's interesting how if you're not in it, you don't have that same experience of the people who are actually in it. And then I had another time where I got attacked by somebody at a local park out here, and some guy was there, and he just kind of on my back, coming behind me and grabbing me all over, and I just wanted to get his hands off of me, and so I was trying to get away from him, and I had chosen to go out to the park that day and chose a place on a Monday afternoon where nobody was in sight because I love to get out there and just be in the desert and in the mountains. It's beautiful. So here I am. He's attacking me, and I'm just thinking, my mind goes into slow motion like, oh, here you have a realtor. It's going to be in the paper tomorrow. Realtor gets raped or something out in this at this park, and so that's running through my mind. And then I know I'm supposed to kick him. Well, I can't because he's behind me, and then I finally said, well, I'm just going to start screaming, and I know nobody's going to hear me because I chose this place because nobody was here. So I start screaming. So then he finally decided, and so meanwhile I was wearing glasses at the time, and so I knocked my glasses onto the ground. So he lets go of me, grabs my glasses, run down to my car. And I had the windows were open, and he I planned all this. It had the phone antenna on the back window, and he went and broke that off. To that, took my glasses, take out. Well, here I am, like 2400. I can't even see. There's no way I'm driving, So I go down, and luckily the cell phone still worked even without the antenna. So I called my husband, and then. And I'm standing out there, and I didn't know how to call the police or anything, so he had a friend bring him out to the park, and on their way out, they called the ranger, or whatever, they called the police. And so the ranger was on his way back from taking reports on a Monday afternoon up in the Sun City, and he was on his way back, and if we'd been able to get a hold of him, he would have known, because there's only one way out of this park, and he would have known. I could describe the car, but I didn't know who to call. So pretty soon the maintenance guy shows up and wants to know if I'm okay. Then the ranger shows up, then Ed shows up, and then the police show up. So I had 4 people gathering. And then I stood there, and then I just started shaking all over, just shaking. And so they put a jacket on me and stuff. And then I learned in a class I took later that, like, when you see an animal getting chased down by somebody, almost getting eaten, when they're done, they just shake. And so what you do is you shake it out of yourself, this trauma, you're shaking it out of your cells. And that's what I did. I just shook and shook like I was cold, which I wasn't, but it was shaking. So that was another interesting experience. And I have to tell you that my whole attitude towards that was I felt sorry for this guy that he needed to do something like that to somebody, that he obviously has a problem. But, meanwhile, it's my favorite place in the world, and I was not going to allow him to take that away from me. So about a week later, I go right back out there in that same spot, and I sat in my car facing out just in case the car shows up and, if anything happens. So I sat there. So I wouldn't let him take that place away from me because it's my very favorite place. And it took about a week or two to get used to when a phone would ring and a guy's voice would be there. I didn't get all panic, not shaky, but I would just notice it. Or if I'm coming out of Safeway and there's a guy walking here, I would be aware of anybody behind me. So anyway, so that was another experience. So it's a whole deal about experiencing trauma. And I hope you don't have that experience. And I say to my friends, they say, I think like 1 in 4 women are sexually attacked or whatever. And I said, well, I've done that for you guys. So 4 of you or 3 of you are safer. I've already been through that. And by the way, he didn't hurt me or anything. It was just like an assault, just a violation of myself. Anyway, so I'm fine. That was back in 1989. So I'm perfectly over all that. So I hope that you don't have that, but if you do get into kind of trauma like that and you start shaking, understand you're just shaking it out of your body, all your cellular level, and that's a good thing. And that's it for today. I'll see you next week.